So I'm Nanette Jackson. I'm the COO of Virtual World Arcade, and I'm going to be moderating this panel today. So first off, we're going to have some introductions from our group here. Tell us who you are, your company name, and briefly what your company does. We'll start with Angelo. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Angelo Del Priore. I'm a partner with HP Inc. Tech Ventures Group, and I look for startup companies to partner or invest in for HP. One of those internal clients that I work with most closely is our VR and PC gaming group.
Hello, my name is Ken Sobajima, the Director of Investments at KDDI. KDDI is the second largest telecom in Japan. In the investment arm, we have a corporate venture fund. We have 14 portfolio in the US so far, 27 in Japan.
Hey, my name is Ryan Wang. I'm the partner with Outpost Capital. We are an early stage VC based in San Francisco focused on frontier technology investment. So in the VR AR space, we made over 10 investments till today. And some of the companies like, the Wave VR, or the Rogue Initiative. Spending from the content to technology to platforms or B2B enterprise use cases. So a lot of companies in this space.
Okay, thank you. So my first question is, what is your investment portfolio? And what percentage of that is VR, AR, MR? And I guess there's several stages. So we'll start with that.
So the only announcement that we've done public in the VR space is in the Venture Reality Fund. And we're an LP in that. Our other investments in VR and AR, we're not making public until we actually come out with a partnership with that company, because we have no interest in letting Dell, Lenovo, et cetera, know what we're doing until after it's done. An easy way to walk it back, though, is look at who HP is partnering with, and then you might be able to infer some of those companies we've made investments in. But we're not publicly releasing any of that information.
So we only have 2 investments in AR VR space in Japan and Korea. The one is something like a Google Cardboard headset. The another one is the content creation. But last week we announced partnerships with ODG. They have a smart glasses here based in San Francisco. So, we are not pure venture capital, we are corporate, so we can work with these guys for create a new business in AR VR space.
So we have a pretty large VR AR portfolio, and I'm not gonna go over each one of the companies here. But a few recent investment we made in this space, we invested in a company called Jido Maps, which is building the AR cloud, and we also invested in a company called Super Medium, which is creating a web VR browser.
Great. So we had Greenlight Insights earlier do a presentation. They quoted some stats about VR and LBE, location-based entertainment, is forecasted to bring in like $3.4 billion by 2020. So how do you use these types of market data to help you make your investment decisions in AR, VR space?
The top-down analyst, whether it's from Greenlight or Goldman Sachs or whoever, is one small data point, right, in terms of saying, hey, is this market going to be big? Because otherwise it's not going to be able to get us the returns unless it's extremely capital efficient, which I think a lot of the plays in LBE will have to be extremely capital efficient, because it's like TBD, right, in this market, how big it's going to be. So it's nice to have, but the entrepreneurs have to come to me with a super well-grounded, bottoms-up understanding of what their market is. So if you're doing something in LBE, how many malls are there in the US? What's the average size? What's the rent going to cost you, et cetera? So it's really a nice to have, but it's just the first meeting. After that, I'm not going to look at it again. And it's really just having a conversation on your particular business.
So of course, this kind of analytics data, it's very helpful for me to make a decision. We usually look at more detailed data, is what kind of sector we should focus on. And also we are looking for more growth stage company. So today might be early for the in a AR or VR space, but we believe it's rapidly growing. So what is the missing part for us to support the startup to create a new business in AR VR space? So basically, we are looking at the more detailed data itself.
I think we look into a lot of VR arcade type of projects and companies, and if there's anything we've learned especially in 2017 so far, is that sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense to create a VR arcade from ground up, right? So if you are building a place only have VR in it, and VR is the only thing that people who come over can do with it, it's a tough business to be in, right? And the industry have been shifting towards a direction that instead of creating a new VR arcade from ground up, how can you leverage existing infrastructures and embed VR as a additional service or additional features into the existing infrastructure? And a typical example is esports. So there are a lot of esports tournaments around, and right now there are a lot of esports tournament. When they are hosting their offline tournament event, they are also adding a VR section to the tournament to say, can the pro players play some competitive VR games with the other pro players, and how we can engage the fans together with a player they love in this part of the process as well. And I think that's super interesting.
Okay, thanks. I'm gonna. We did send some of these questions ahead of time, but I'm gonna ask another question since it triggered my interest in this. Which vertical sector in VR is more enticing to you as an investor?
Coming from HP, the commercial side, just because there is this return that you can get from a business. So the entertainment side, waiting for it to develop, it's an interest. I'm here looking at investments in the area and partnerships. But in terms of commercial for training, whether you're a medical doctor, whether you're someone out in the field with an AR, even with a tablet at this point, the benefit is so tremendous and the payback period can be so quick. I mean, look at Walmart. They're training people who are being paid, $20, $25 an hour. If you're able to effectively deploy AR and VR at, the lowest paid people, and then I think there's going to be opportunities all the way up the chain. So commercial is where I'm focusing most of my energy.
So I think that B2B market is very hot today. So we are looking at some B2B space. So not only the gaming space, but also more like practice for doing something with AR, VR. So, but we understand that timing is very important. So B2C or B2C market, it's coming now. So when is a good timing for us to accelerate the business? So actually B2B market is a bit hot market today, but when is a good timing for more growth business?
Yeah, I think a lot of investors tend to stay away from the consumer side of VR when they make an investment because the market is very immature and very unpredictable at this point. But for us, we are pretty bullish about VR as a investment sector, and we have investing a number of consumer facing type of VR companies as well. And I think eventually it's gonna take time to get there, but eventually when it's getting there, a lot of consumer companies have the potential to grow exponentially, versus for a lot of B2B type of companies, some of them will have scalability issue when the tipping point has been reached. So we, as I mentioned earlier, we invest in a lot of contents. We invest in platforms like the Way VR, which is a VR music platform, and also Kite and Lightning. They are building content and platform as well. So they have a content first approach to solve the platform problem. And in addition to content and platform, we definitely look into the B2B sectors as well, because that's what's predictable at this point, and that's how VR industry can make money at this point. Other than that, we also look into some enabling technologies. For example, we invest in a company called Visby, which is developing the a light field capturing and processing solutions. So yeah, so in the VR AR space, we pretty much look into everything, and we think that no matter from the consumer side and from the enterprise side, there are a lot of opportunities going forward.
So this is I'm going through some questions that I have that I did not send ahead, sorry. So what goes through your mind when an entrepreneur makes his pitch? What are you looking for?
It's typical that in the LVE space, I would fundamentally be concerned, and my biggest question is always around what are your unit economics going to be like? So in terms of what are you paying for rent, what's your throughput, how are you not going to get, what's the right word, disintermediated, right, by a Steam or somebody else who's going to maybe capture a lot of the value in this value chain. So it's just a lot of nuts and bolts, tackling in the LVE space for now. And I think you can make money, and it's just, you got to pay attention, and you have to constantly bring in things for people, whether it's a haptic, because your best customer is going to be doing it at home, whether you're going to be doing some kind of data analytics to get them to come in, some kind of monetization around that, or also some kind of loyalty program. So I think it's just a lot of nuts and bolts that you can learn from other entertainment industries. So like a Dave & Buster's or an arcade or paintball, just like little things. So instead of you burning your time and learning all these, not stupid, but little things operationally, and get yourself over to that profitability that much faster.
So I'm looking into the detail about the technology. So there is no AR, VR technology. So technologies are based in a bunch of another technology like computer vision or AI or streaming content itself. So yeah, we are looking at more detail about the technology itself. What is the background for them? The other one is vision. Nobody sees the future. So how you can make a future business itself. So I'm already looking into that. The other third one is the business model, how you can create a new business. So I think that they might need some partners to create an ecosystem. So how they can get a sustainable business. So we hate the wow business. Everyone say, wow, this is great, fantastic, but it's so hard to get another sustainable business. So we need to create the market itself. We should work together.
Yeah, so just like all the early stage investments, we look into the fundamentals of the startup, meaning the team, the product, the technology, the competitive landscape, the addressable market size. But in addition to that, I think what's unique to VR compared to the other investment sectors is that VR is a new medium, right? And we think that VR will eventually be the ultimate media. That being said, there are a lot of companies. I think they are trying to do what we have, trying to repeat the process that we have already learned, instead of reinventing the wheel. And I think that doesn't make sense in VR and AR. The good products and good companies in VR actually build something that's only makes sense for VR, but should no longer make sense by traditional media, right? So, for example, I think the way VR is a great example here. So, the way VR is building a platform for people to enjoy electronic dance music. And traditionally, when you think about listening to music, the best time when we enjoy a piece of music is when we feel we can immerse into the music world, right? When we are like our brains are fully immersed inside the music. So music by itself is a very immersive content, and VR, if we think about it, it's an immersive media. So there is a natural compatibility between music being a immersive content and virtual reality being an immersive media. So when you combine these two things together, a lot of magic can be created in this process. And this kind of magic cannot be recreated using the traditional media that we've been talking about, right? We can't repeat it with laptop, with mobile phone. No, you can't achieve that with traditional platforms, and this is only available in VR. So I think in particular, this is what I'm looking for, something that's only available for something that's only available and only enabled by virtual reality and cannot be enabled by anything else.
Okay. Thank you. I attended the Women in Tech Festival a few weeks ago, where there's a disproportionate number of VCs that are known to empathize with people who look like them or who are similar to them. So, how do you not let personal bias influence your funding decisions?
Good question. I suppose there's some biases I'm not even aware of. We only make we're right. We write $1 to $5 million checks. So I'm only writing a couple, 3 checks a year, and it's really important to me to make those fundamentally on the economics of it. So I think that keeps me honest in terms of just like I want to make $1 just as much as you want to make $1, and I'm not spending I'm not making 100 bets. It's just kind of random. I'm only going to go with my bro. It's just like no, I don't care who it is. I want to make money. You're going to make me money. Awesome. Let's go.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think how we can create the future. So sometimes we should add something on the existing visual world, but sometimes we should delete something. And also we should not only the AR, VR technology, but also another alternative solution. So sometimes from the consumer perspective, it's too much about the AR, VR itself. But so we should keep our eye on the more future how we can create a new business.
Yeah, I think Ken mentioned something that's very interesting, which is we are not able to predict the future, but we are able to believe in the future. And I think for anyone who invests in VR, AR, we are all believers, right? That's why we make the investment. And I think the question we can narrow down the question into the fact that given that we believe in VR, AR, what else do we need to see in order to make an investment decision? And I think basically VR is a new platform, and there are unlimited amount of sectors that can be enabled by VR being a new medium. And for each of the sectors, we want to invest in the best company, the number one company that is able to achieve the goal. Sure, the future is unpredicted, but if this is a future we believe in, we want to make sure that by the day when the future is happening, we have the companies that's sitting on the number one of the list, right? So I think exceptional entrepreneurs, exceptional ideas, exceptional product quality is what we are looking for.
So, I'm not sure if we have enough time for another question, but I was gonna also, I was also gonna ask about how, talking about the men versus women and women in tech, what's the ratio of men to women investors in your organization, and how does that ratio affect, I guess, the women entrepreneurs that you invest in?
So the short answer, there are 5 of us, and one of my partners is a woman, and very outspoken. So she does, which it's good. We're not man-explaining. We don't even try to go there. Just she keeps us in line. And again, in terms of how it affects our investments, it really is: are you going to make me money? Like that's what I care about. It's sad, but I'm a VC, so it's just like, so I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you look like. I don't care, whatever, right?
I heard that based on the data, women's entrepreneur is doing well, better than the men. So sometimes I'm already asking for my wife, hey, this is good or not. So sometimes I realize that she's thinking about a good thing, better than me. So she's my good partner for the investment side as well. So I think the good thing to for the women entrepreneur to do something for the future.
We have one female investors in our investment team, and we have one portfolio company called Alconite, which is co-founded by two female founders.
Thank you. So the final question is, what is your top advice for VR companies seeking investment, and how should they build out their strategy to seek investment from you?
So this is beyond just LBE. Come to me with a personalized pitch about why you're gonna kick ass in your particular sector. We're all believers in VR and AR, so we all understand the TAM. We all understand the pain point. So you can kind of skip to the first two slides, I would say, if you're coming to someone who's into VR. If you're going to someone who's not into VR, just say, hey, Digital Capital, Goldman Sachs says it's going to be a big market. Kind of give them the hook. We're lazy or efficient, right? We get a couple of thousand pitches, right? A couple of thousand CEOs we talk to every year. We all want to do deals, and we kind of quickly need to find out, you're the person I want to talk to. So just make it easy for me and write that really good personalized email that's ideally coming through a contact. The warm contact, I'm actually going to read it. The cold contact, I might scan it, and your chances of getting read are so much slower. But we're coming out here on a Sunday because we want to meet you, right? So just keep coming out and doing these things.
So I'm always asking for the team, so what is the missing part, or what kind of support do you need for your investor or partner? So if you need a bunch of investment, you need to ask for SoftBank. So SoftBank is our competitor. But if you need some distribution partner, so you need to ask for the system integrator for each local market. So, but I think that we should believe the future, how we can create the business, as I mentioned that. So, and what is the missing part for your partner? So we should focus on something about your missing part.
I would say build something that's only available and only makes sense in VR, as I previously mentioned, and also try to raise as much money as you can, and keep the burn rate as low as you can. Aim for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Sure.
How much time? Money. Depends, right? Depends on how many companies are there that that I think I would interested to make an investment. So to me, that always depends on the deal flow.
Yeah, good question. It depends on the company. So I think that we have a bunch of money for the investments. We are ready for the investment. But as I said, how we can work closely as a startup itself.
I'll give you a number, 2 to 10 million. 2 to 10 million if I had to guess. Can't hold me to it though. There's stuff to be done.
Yeah, we're actually Q&A right now. We could have some Q&A questions. Yeah.
No, not yet. I have the mic, so I'll go first this time, but you'll go first next time. I think it makes a lot of sense to take money from a strategic. I'm being self-serving, but I actually think it's the honest answer. But it all comes down to the terms you're able to get, right? If someone's asking for something silly like, I want worldwide exclusivity forever on all your products, but I only want to buy 10% of you. Like, thanks, but no thanks, right? That's M&A. So there's so many corporate strategics now, right, among the publishers and in everyone else in the value chain, If you can get someone to give you money and their go-to-market and their brand and the distribution, it's great. And then get money from everybody else too, because they'll have the network, the intelligence, the this, that, and the other thing. The more investors you can get with, non-overlapping circles of skill sets of what they're offering you, the better that you are. But again, just make sure you have a high-priced lawyer to make sure you're not getting screwed over, right? Because we do this all day, and it's easy to not know what you're signing.
Yeah, I'll give a simple answer to this question. So if you can raise money from VC, raise money from VC. But if you are not able to raise money from VC, raise money from publisher. And if you can do both, do both.
Yeah. So I'm not a pure venture capital. We are corporate. So money is money, but how we can add some value from especially corporate. So as I said, what kind of support do you need for your partner, including the investor itself?
And then just to add one thing, a corporate will typically give you a higher valuation because they have a thumb on the scale, right? And I actually like going in with a financial as the lead because if I value you, I'm like 8 million pre. Oh wait, you're going to help me sell another $1 million of Omen PCs? That's worth another $1 million. Sure, you could have 9 million. I don't care. He'll keep it honest and say like, no, your valuation I think is 8 million. So the corporations will, be, I'm not sure. They'll just give you the higher number. I won't characterize it with an adjective.
Oh, yes, we got another question.
Great question, and I'm really glad you asked this question, because we are obviously at a little bit tough time for the industry at this point, and a lot of entrepreneurs that we have met with during the year 2014 to 2016 around the VR hypes. Some of them have shut down their business, and some of them are having trouble to to continue building what they are planning to build. So it's definitely a very challenging industry to be in at this point, but that doesn't mean that there is no opportunity, right? So and I think to decide what is your what is your pace to fundraising. I think at this point, on one hand, if there is any significant milestone that you can achieve within the traditional 18 or 12 months frame of time, definitely aim for that. Otherwise, especially if you are building a consumer product and you have a strong dependency to the size of the consumer market, in that case, prepare for the long run, right? If you can raise enough capital for 3 years, go for that. If you can raise enough capital for 5 years, go for that.
I'll take a slightly contrarian view with all respect. So I've seen deals where the entrepreneur has given up 15% of the company, and I've seen deals where the entrepreneur has given up 45% of the company. And it's just like, it's like poor PhDs in engineering, like no one counseled them. And even though they raised a bunch of money, it's just like, well, take it down to the next round. Take it down to the next round. There are 2, 3 founders. You're going to end up with 2% of your company. How motivated are you going to be? So I think raise to your next inflection point. And at a certain point, okay, like it's not going to work. I'm too ahead of them. I actually drove by TiVo on the way here. I consulted with them 15 years ago, right? They got, they didn't make any money. You know who made money? TV Guide, because different part of the value chain. So at a certain point, you don't want to keep banging your head against the wall. Say, okay, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to do another company or something. So I wouldn't give away, if you can raise a lot of money and only give away the standard 20, 25%, that's amazing. Do it, right? But just raise to the next inflection point, add several months of extra, because it's always harder than you think it's going to be, right? There's always, even if you get to where you think it's going to be, you're not going to go there in a straight line, right? So give yourself some extra runway, but don't sell yourself short.
So Yeah, Patrick.
I think that timing is very important. So for the consumer business, so it's not ready. I think so. So we need the devices, consumer device itself, it will be ready in 2019 or 2020. So sometimes we should wait for a couple of years. So I think so most of the companies are focusing on B2B market, so LBE or enterprise market. But when they get the more reasonable device itself for consumer side, so that is a good timing. So, but before that, we should be ready for that.
There's one big issue when you are pitching LB ideas to VCs, which is a scalability issue. How can you scale your business, right? And what part of your business is scalable versus what part is not scalable? And in order to persuade a VC to invest, definitely you need to tell the story in a scalable way and trying to make your business as scalable as possible, right? Because that's what we as VCs are aiming for. We need the scalability, right? And also, if we look into the past 2 to 3 years in the VR LBE space, who are those actually made money in this space? Actually, the reality is it's not the operators, but the suppliers. It's the suppliers who franchise their arcade solution to the operators rather than the operator who've been operating this business and selling to the consumers. It's a little bit sad to see that, but that's a reality. So I think when we think about how how we as VC can invest in LB, right? Well, we definitely want the business to be scalable, and we also want to look into the market and seeing that um, uh, so from the full valuation perspective, which part of the valuation is the most scalable and most risk-free part of the business to be in?
Okay, one more question.
I mean, that just off the top of my head, it's just so much more immersive and so much better that, and I think VR medical training. So I'm a big proponent of that. You don't have to only do it in VR, but I've actually seen pictures. There's this great company called Also VR down in Palo Alto. They're doing a surgery. They don't have the right kind of knee. So what do? They pull out a little pamphlet in 8-point font, and they're reading the directions on the Medtronic knee versus the knee that they were looking for. If the surgeon can kind of practice that 5 times with the other type of knee, it's just so much more immersive, and you're going to learn better.
Yeah, definitely. As Angelo just mentioned, VR games is 1,000 times more immersive than traditional gaming, and actually, virtual reality has been a long time dream for the hardcore gamers. Gamers want to be inside that game world, and with VR, now you have a way to achieve that, right? But if we going back to the industry and talking from the game industry perspective, I think what's interesting to expect moving forward is that right now the video game industry is I would say somehow getting stuck in terms of the game genre being a little bit stable at this point. So each year we can expect a number of high-end, big-budget FPS games that's coming out, and in addition to FPS, there will be a couple of strategy games, mobile games, and a few specific gaming genre that is proven to be successful, and all the game publishers and game developers are building on top of the existing game genres rather than trying to create some new ways to play games. But at the end of the day, there are unlimited ways that we can play games, and I think this is a unique opportunity for us to reinvent the wheel and think about it. What other game genre that could possibly be created and be enabled by virtual reality? And if you are thinking about creating a new game genre, this is actually one of the perfect timing to do that, because you are no longer rely on traditional platforms. And when you publish your game, you are no longer competing with all these big budget blockbuster titles that's gonna attract the public lights, right? You have a brand new platform, a brand new market, and a brand new audience to tap into. And if you can be one of the best games in virtual reality, you have a chance to create a whole new game genre. And I think that's super exciting if I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you. And that's all the time we have for this. So thank you to the panel. And next up, we have Jeremy Lamb, who's going to talk about how to prevent motion sickness in VR arcades and games.